My name is Marcos Berrios. I'm an Air Force helicopter test pilot, and I am a 2021 NASA astronaut candidate. I am from Guaynabo, Puerto Rico. Growing up in Puerto Rico is a mixture of spending time with family. It's a mixture of spending time at the beach. For me, it was a lot of kind of high school sports as well as a lot of math. So before being selected as a astronaut candidate, I was an Air Force helicopter test pilot. Specifically, I did developmental tests for the combat search and rescue mission. NASA astronaut to me is an ambassador for the NASA organization as well as its mission. I decided to be, or that I wanted to be a NASA astronaut when I was a kid, but I would say that the reason as to why I wanted to be an astronaut certainly evolved with time. You know, as a kid, I was inspired by pictures of the stars, galaxies, nebulas, and I wanted to be the one that explored those areas, and that's what I thought astronauts, did at the time, just explore, the confines of the universe. As you kind of get older, more mature, you have a more realistic outtake as to what it takes to be an astronaut and what the chances are. And during high school, I wanted to be an astronaut mainly because I wanted to, live the lives of those that were kind of selected. You had doctors, engineers, scientists, pilots. That's something that kind of excited me. And now, kind of, quite frankly, I believe in the human space exploration mission, and I want to contribute to that in some way. And contributing to that mission as an astronaut kind of combines a lot of the things that I like to do. I like to learn. I like to interact with people from, with different backgrounds, different perspective, different technical expertise. So I believe in the human space exploration mission, and that's a mission that I certainly want to contribute to in some way. And being a NASA astronaut allows me to contribute to that mission by helping the organization develop the new space vehicles that are going to take us to the moon and to Mars. It allows me to continue to educate myself, learn about the various disciplines that it takes to accomplish this mission, and it also allows me to take part and be, a small contributing member to teams that have a, sense of purpose and a higher mission. The selection process was a long one. So it all started with a application online, USA Jobs, which really just consisted of your resume and a couple of references. And then it was probably 8 months or so before you perhaps heard that you had made it to the highly qualified round, and then some more waiting for the first round of interviews. And that was a short kind of 3-day experience with 10 other amazing individuals, a lot of medical activities, a lot of individual and group exercises. And then you wait some more, then you've got the second round, which at this point was a week long. And so you spend quite a bit of time with the other candidates, even more intense medical activities, as well as another interview and some more physical and psychological evaluations. So I found out that I was selected in the morning. I was actually driving to work, and the phone call itself, was very short and sweet and maybe somewhat uneventful, but the morning leading up to that phone call, I think, is kind of unique and kind of neat. And so I am the type of person that likes to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, typically to work out or just get a head start on my day. And so that morning I was actually watching a presentation, an interview that Reed, the chief astronaut, was giving. So it's a 30-minute talk. When you're working out and listening to a podcast, it's not that efficient. So I am listening to 10 minutes, rewinding, listening to 10 more minutes. And so his voice was the only voice that, I heard that morning. And so I'm driving to work. I get a phone call. It's from a Houston number. I thought I would be, very nervous and, very anxious, but I saw the phone call, I answered it, and then the very first voice that I heard on the other line was Reed's voice. And so I thought I was going to be nervous, but it was almost, soothing to kind of hear the same voice that I had heard that entire morning. He asked if I wanted to come to NASA and join the next astronaut candidate class, and I said yes. I think I said it. I gave him a firm yes, but yeah. For a good part of my life, I worked a 8 to 5 job as an engineer, as a researcher for the Army, but at the same time I was a combat search and rescue helicopter pilot for the Air National Guard, and then I was also going to grad school. And each one of those different activities, I'm surrounded by kind of unique and amazing individuals. And you're trying to do a lot of things at once. You're certainly you don't master them all. And so I certainly relied on kind of others to help me, which I felt certainly motivated me, also inspired me to, continue to do better and try to contribute to each one of those 3 different teams, if you will. Growing up in Puerto Rico, math, for me at least, was a big deal. And my older brother competed in math competitions representing Puerto Rico. That's something that I certainly wanted to do as well. And my mom was actually a math teacher. She was a math teacher at the same school that I went to, and she was my 7th grade math teacher, pre-algebra, which certainly, in my opinion, kind of set the stage for future love of math and science. So. I would say all of the above. So I'm definitely excited. At the same time, I am very anxious. I'm very nervous for what's to come. A lot of it is simply because there's a lot of kind of unknowns, but I wouldn't have it any other way. The least extraordinary thing that I do, that's a tough question. I would say maybe waking up at 4:30 in the morning every day. So right now, I am most excited about the fact that we have a lot of new vehicles in development. We have the SpaceX Crew Dragon, the Boeing Starliner, Orion, Gateway, Starship, the Human Lander. And so I do think it's an exciting time to be a part of NASA and to contribute to the development of these technologies that are going to take us, to the moon and beyond, to Mars. Maybe 2 top reasons. So the first is I'm actually quite excited to go to the International Space Station and take part in the diverse research that is happening. And so I think it would be it would be a very fun and neat way to contribute to all the research that scientists are doing around the world. And then the other, I'm really excited to help develop the technologies that will take us to the moon and beyond the Mars. I like to be around the water, and so I like to go swimming. I like to go scuba diving. I would love to continue to learn how to sail. Um, like to be outside, so hiking, just spending time outside. The best advice I've received about becoming an astronaut is to simply be yourself. Dream destination. Right now, I think I would go anywhere that NASA sends me, but if I were to dream up the ideal location, so right now, NASA currently has the Mars Ingenuity helicopter flying, and if NASA could scale up that helicopter to fit, someone about my size, I think it would be pretty amazing to be able to fly a helicopter on another planet. About the vehicles, I am most excited about contributing during the early stages of the development to be able to use my previous experience to aid the design of the vehicles, which will ultimately make them safer for the astronauts that do who are on board. Everyone was, extremely excited. I think your family is your biggest advocate, and so, as I talk to them about the process of becoming an astronaut, everyone simply says, "Oh, of course you're going to get it," and of course, I try to explain that the chances are very minimal, but I guess they were right, and so I don't know if I have a good response to them at the moment. Study tip. I personally need repetition when it comes to learning a new topic or a new concept, and I need various modes of, I guess, receiving that information. So I'm a very visual person, so I like to read something, then I like to draw diagrams or work an equation and do some math, and then try and summarize what I've learned to really verify that I've understood that concept correctly. As a kid, I would say when I was a kid, there was a TV show that was actually on pay-per-view called BattleBots, which is, you have two robots in an octagon, fighting against each other. And, early on that I wanted to, I wanted to build things. I wanted to build robots, and being able to kind of see that in action just kind of drove that desire to kind of get into engineering and pursue something along those lines. I would say I am very much more math oriented. It just comes easier to me. And so I would say, the English language, being able to communicate effectively, being able to write efficiently was certainly something that was hard, or at least harder than I certainly wanted it to be. And so, advice, I think sometimes we tend to not do things because they are hard, but I can tell you that the only way that you're going to get better is by actually doing. And so, my advice is to embrace the fact that either you don't like it or it's hard, and you need to continue to pursue your weaknesses in order to make them into a strength.